Right now to Ontario's Education Minister Stephen Lecce, who's making an announcement. Let's listen in.
By the local OSSTF union members. And that means that a high school student that started last year will graduate in 3 years without the risk of a strike. This is a huge achievement for 400,000 students and their families, and I'm grateful to all the parties for coming together to put kids first. I'm now asking that all the remaining teacher unions come to the table and sign a deal that provides stability for families and allows our students to focus on their academics, that helps lead them to good jobs. And I know we can work together to reciprocate that stability across the board for all students, elementary, public, and Catholic, and French, because every student deserves that stability. Now, our plan this year includes a $700 million increase in public education, the hiring of nearly 2,000 additional educators, a $100 million investment to boost literacy and to help screen our youngest readers and learners, and a relentless focus with greater accountability on school boards to ensure we get back to basics to strengthen reading, writing, math, and STEM disciplines. Now, this morning, EQAO released their assessments for the 2022-23 school year, for the last year. And after years of difficulty and following a global pandemic, we are seeing stability and some incremental gains in reading, writing, and math scores that demonstrate our investments, the back to basics focus, and stability in schools is yielding some good results for kids. We know there's more work to do, but math achievement trends are trending upwards across all grade levels in both English and French, including between 2 to 5% increases in grade 6 and grade 9 de-streamed math. Literacy achievement is stable or increasing across grade levels, including a 6% improvement of the literacy success rate on the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test when compared to 2018. When looking at other jurisdictions around the country and around the world, Ontario is strong and stable amidst fluctuating results found across this country and including peer jurisdictions in the US and the UK. EQAO results show stability and moderate gains, which stem directly from kids being in class without disruption, with those targeted supports focused on lifting literacy and math competencies. And I want to thank everyone who's been supporting these kids, our educators most especially, and our families. We are all moving in the right direction in this province. So now is the time to keep these kids in school. And I will make the case that a normal and stable and enjoyable school year that goes back to basics is key to Ontario's long-term success. Every child deserves to be in front of their educators with their friends without interruption for the next 3 years with the full school experience, the clubs and sports that come with it. And so by doing this, we can ensure the emotional and the physical development of a child is better and stronger and, of course, improves their academics along the way. So to the other teacher unions, we ask you to get to the table to sign a deal that keeps these kids in class. There is no time for delay.
Minister, was your government perhaps a little easier on the unions with this because you need a win because of the Greenbelt scandal?
Well, first off, we announced this tentative agreement many weeks ago. We've been negotiating.
For many months.
Well, we've been very clear from the beginning. We want to demonstrate a commitment to keeping kids in school. My priority as minister has been to sign deals. I signed one with CUPE. We signed 4, in fact, deals are ratified, and one more is in the midst of ratification. So I believe our commitment has been to keep kids in school. We've demonstrated that today, and I'm proud of that achievement. I think kids are better off for it, and my mission as minister is to provide stability for children, and that's what we've done.
But is this a good win for your government, given the times that you're in?
I think this is a big win for parents and for students who finally have predictability in their lives. For a high school student that started last September, that means their kid will graduate without any threat of interruption. And honestly, putting party interests aside, that is a good thing for kids. Every child deserves that stability. So I think the greatest beneficiary of this deal, of the union, the school board, and the government coming together, are kids. And I want to do the same for every child in every union, particularly to the Catholic and French and public elementary teacher unions. We need them to work with us, as OSSTF has done in this case, to endorse a deal and a frame that provides stability. And we now have one on the table that has been overwhelmingly ratified by nearly 8 in 10 members. The people of Ontario support this proposal. The membership of one of the largest unions supports this proposal. And so therefore, we would reasonably expect the other unions to work with us quickly, end the delay, but sign a deal that keeps these kids in school.
Minister, OSSTF also says that this deal creates a pathway to receive remedies for wages lost under Bill 124. Could you explain what that means?
So when the original tentative agreement was announced, this was part of the communications. What I can simply confirm is that there is been an agreement amongst the parties to remedy through 124 part of this proposal. You have to appreciate that we are before other education unions, teacher unions today and tomorrow and over the coming days. So I don't want to prejudice the discussions with them. I could just confirm that is the case. The government has been clear. We want to keep kids in school. We want to demonstrate reasonableness and, more importantly, provide some stability for parents. And I think this outcome achieves that. We keep negotiating for the next month. We negotiate hard. We're before OSSTF again tomorrow. We're going to keep working with them and any union in good faith to get these deals done. But should there be matters that are outstanding that we can't agree on, then we're going to send those issues to binding interest arbitration, which is a fair process for resolution that we use in many other ministries of the government.
But your government is currently in court actively fighting to have Bill 124 reinstated. So how can you make a promise to the unions that you can remedy Bill 124 when your government is trying to reinstate and reassert Bill 124?
The agreement includes a commitment to remedy 124 for recognition that we want to make sure that we take this issue off the table, we get kids in school, and more importantly, teachers provide some stability to be in school. We all want the same thing. So in the meantime, while we're negotiating with the outstanding teacher unions, I have to respect that those are confidential negotiations. So I cannot and I will not prejudice those discussions other than to acknowledge that we have made commitments to provide stability, sending all the outstanding issues to interest arbitration. On 124, we have confirmed that there's a remedy before the union, and their membership have ratified that proposal.
Minister, are you offering that Bill 124 remedy to the other unions at the bargaining table, or is a Bill 124 remedy contingent on them agreeing to a pathway like this, like OSSTF did?
It's a similar frame we're proposing to all the unions, all the teacher unions to be specific. What we've offered to OSSTF is fundamentally what we're offering to the other unions, and we believe that frame can be achieved right across the board. It just requires them to accept and to move forward and get on with a meeting with us to get this type of a deal like this signed.
But does that mean they won't get a Bill 124 remedy if they solely pursue the bargaining table option?
What I can confirm to you is that through this proposal, which includes negotiating for the next month and sending any outstanding issued interest arbitration, this frame includes a resolution for 124. And we made that clear going back a month ago. So we're fulfilling that, and our priority as the government is simply to keep kids in school, and we've achieved that. And I think that's a good outcome for kids. I mean, I think the fundamental question now is if this deal is acceptable for public high school English teachers, then it begs the question, why wouldn't it be good enough for public elementary English teachers, or any other union for that matter? We're talking about 8 in 10 members have overwhelmingly endorsed this proposal. The people of Ontario believe it is a sensible, pragmatic resolution to resolve a problem that happens often in this province, where just different parties have a difference in perspective on fundamental issues. So we've brought forth a sensible plan. We've got this proposal overwhelmingly ratified. It provides stability for children in high schools. We want to achieve that same outcome for every child in our French and our Catholic, and certainly in our public elementary schools. And so I'm urging the other unions, to recognize the reality before them, which is there is momentum for this proposal. There is clear endorsement and support for it. So we need to ensure that our other education partners appreciate that this is that there is momentum to move forward on this proposal. We want to get it done. And so we're urging them to get to the table, to end the delay, and accept a deal like this that allows these kids to go to school with peace for the next 3 years.
Striking TVO workers say they also would like binding arbitration. Is the government open to extending that offer to them?
Look, I'm not directly involved in negotiations on TVO. I do appreciate it's an agency within the Ministry of Education. Negotiations are run through the Treasury Board. I can simply say we do hope that there is a resolution across the board for TVO workers. We value their contribution to public education, particularly on the online learning, and some of the other live learning programs they provide to children in publicly funded schools. But I need to respect that this process is being led through another ministry. But I do agree, we want a resolution here. I think it's good for all parties if we can provide labor peace, let kids learn or benefit from tutoring supports, let the workers work and contribute.
Another matter, the Premier said the other week that he feels school boards are, quote, indoctrinating students as regards gender identity. Without defaulting to your talking points, because I know you want all students to feel safe, But do you agree with the Premier on that as Education Minister?
I think Ontario schools need to get back to basics. This is a fundamental issue in Ontario. Parents have been abundantly clear. They do not believe that is the overriding priority of school boards, so much so that I brought a bill before this House passed with bipartisan support with the Liberals, who agree with the premise that back to basics is the future when it comes to improving literacy, math, and fundamental skills. So I believe school boards need to refocus on academic achievement. And for the first time in Ontario history, I now have binding powers as minister to impose academic achievement as the priority on school boards so they get back to basics on reading, writing, and math. The only way we're going to see improvement in EQAO and fundamental skills is if kids are in school and if schools prioritize literacy and STEM education. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're emphasizing. And yes, indeed, of course, I wouldn't submit that as a talking point. I think it is an immoral imperative of government to protect every child. And we believe in that. We've been visible in support of all communities in our schools, and we will harness the good of that diversity. But we will, of course, always make the case for parents to have a role, to be aware, and to support their kids on their learning journey.
Karen
Minister, are you
Littlewood.
trying to, sorry, back to the negotiations with the OSSTF binding interest arbitration deal. Are you trying to change the status quo? Are you going to pursue similar deals with the next round of bargaining and the round after that? Is this how you'd like things to go in the future in Ontario?
If you're presuming I'll be the Minister of Education in the next 4 years, Allison, that will be a very daunting task for me. But I think what I'd say to you is, look, I mean, the government of the day, and we'll have to. That's a mandate that comes from the Premier and the Cabinet, and of course Treasury Board. So I can't prejudice future governments. I could simply say this seems to be a sensible path in the current reality where we just had a global pandemic. We've had numerous, withdrawals of service and strikes over the past few years, and frankly over the last generation, the last 30 years. So I think this is a good proposal for today to help provide stability for children, to keep these kids in school, to give them a sense of hope and optimism that people are working together in their interest, even from different political parties and ideological perspectives, that we actually can come together to put their interests first, and that is a very good thing in this province. So I can simply affirm that this makes a lot of sense today. Nearly 80% of members of OSSTF would agree with that premise. The people of Ontario agree, and now I'm urging the other unions to sort of see that light, come to the table, and sign a deal so we can keep kids in school.
The reason why, just to follow up on that, the reason why I asked if you're trying to change the status quo is that seems to be one of the fears of the people who oppose this kind of deal, that sort of permanently neutering strikes as a way of getting what the education unions want would harm them in the long run. So is that what you're sort of trying to do?
What I'm trying to do is keep kids in school. I'm trying to provide a path to stability for families, and we've achieved that today. And every child in Ontario is better off if we come together and put the interests of children ahead of our own personal interests. We've done that, and I'm grateful for the parties to provide some needed stability and peace for a child. As I noted, a high school student that started last September in grade 9 will graduate under this proposal that's now been fully ratified without the threat of a strike. That is music to the ears of every parent in this province who's just determined to give their kids a normal, stable, positive school experience. And we are doing that together with a back-to-basics emphasis that lifts the standards, increases the investments, hires 2,000 more teachers, and emphasizes reading, writing, and math and STEM education. So I do believe that this program makes a ton of sense. It is good for kids. Frankly, it's good for all the parties. And I look forward to getting deals across the board. And I'm urging the other unions to get to the table to sign a deal like this so that we can provide stability for their members, but most importantly for all children in Ontario. Pardon me.
Over the last 2 weeks, Karen Littlewood has said that she's seen a shift in the government at the bargaining table in a more positive direction. So if it's not the Greenbelt scandal, which is what Karen Littlewood was alluding to might be the reason why things are a little more amicable at the table, why would you say your energy has shifted at the bargaining?
Well, I can't speak for why Karen would suggest so, other than that there's been a good faith effort for the last many months to get this deal done. We proposed this some time ago. We're grateful that OSSTF has accepted that in the mid to late summer. At the end of the day, the metric of our success is, are we keeping kids in school? So we're going to deliver the same sense of focus on children as we did with OSSTF. As you know, we just reached a tentative agreement with EDFO's education workers. So there's progress, there's momentum. I mean, delivered deals last fall. We delivered deals earlier in the summer, and there's more today. And so I think this is just building upon, layering upon the work of the government to prioritize children, keep them in school, provide stability for parents, predictability for the workers. Look, this is something we've been working on for some time.
We've been listening to Education Minister Stephen Lecce updating the media on the fact that the OSSTF members have voted in favor of a proposal to move forward with bargaining, and any other unresolved issues will be dealt with through arbitration.